Let's talk about a few things that we now take as gospel truths. Jet planes are bad because they emit carbon emissions. Your ute is bad because it emits carbon emissions. Your gas barbecue is also bad because it contributes to carbon emissions. But you won't believe what they're now telling us is bad. They're telling us that dirt emits carbon and is a threat to us ever reaching our net zero goals. I'm not joking. Wish that I was, but a study published in the Nature Portfolio Journal warns that Australia's soil is becoming a net carbon emitter and threatens to ruin any chance of us reaching net zero. The article details how carbon can be stored in soil, but as temperatures rise and soil becomes drier, it releases carbon into the air. And they claim that over the next 80 years, Australian soil, a great carbon criminal, will release up to 100 megatons of CO2 into the atmosphere. Have a listen to the report's author, Professor Raphael Viscari-Russell. He says if Australia wants to achieve its emissions reductions targets, that's a significant amount of emissions that we're not accounting for. So there you have it. You've heard it first here on The Late Debate. Dirt is now a major threat to the future of planet Earth. Caleb, what are we going to do?
Dirt is a dirty word, it would seem. I mean, that seems to be the logical conclusion, just ban dirt. I feel so sorry for all the hippies watching tonight, probably two of you who watch this program, but they're finally going to have to take a shower because all this dirt that they've got on their bodies, you know, it's emitting carbon.
What's that dirty? What kind of hippies do you know?
Oh, come on. Have you seen these people who go around to these protests gluing themselves to the road? They probably haven't had a shower in 5 years, some of them.
They're not hippies. You're bringing down the good name of proper hippies.
Oh, well, maybe so. But this is the best advertisement for forestry that I've ever heard in my life because we've got this great natural resource that is timber, right? So a tree grows out of the ground, tree sucks carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, you cut the tree down, you go and make something out of the timber, and then you plant another tree in the ground. And of course, once you've planted another tree in the ground, you have to water it. So once this earth is nice and damp to allow for these things to grow, there won't be any carbon emissions coming out of the soil. And of course, the tree, as it grows, will be sucking carbon emissions out of the atmosphere. Oh, except that the Greens don't like forestry either because we've got to leave all the trees there. I mean, seriously, what do they expect us to do about this? The only way to get around it is to irrigate the soil. And you irrigate the soil by, you know, planting things in it and making it productive land, but we can't have that either.
No, agriculture is one of the biggest sources of carbon emissions. Don't you know that? We've got to stop making food as we know it as well. That's dreadful. Cattle, also dreadful. This was a real eye-opener to me, this whole soil emitting emissions, now dirt is bad. I had no idea the government has invested $40 million in what they call low-cost technology, bit ironic for 40 mil, that measures the emissions coming from certain soils. So they are keeping an eye on just how much carbon is in your soil. And there are 530, let me get this right, as of 3rd of March, there are 530 soil carbon projects registered under the Clean Energy Regulator. Get this, 7 of them have been issued because they're going so well. Just under 300,000 Australian carbon credit units. And those units are worth more than $8 million. Nice. So we are literally just making up these rules. Now, you measure the carbon in your soil. If you're doing well, you can make a heck of a lot more money. And that is why last month, an Australian first, 700 breeding cattle went to auction, marketed as carbon emissions free. Like they're literally carbon neutral cattle because obviously someone had these credits.
Wow.
So you get those credits to offset the on-farm emissions.
I love it.
I just think this is complete and utter madness. Like, farmers don't have enough to worry about with floods and droughts and everything else that comes with running a property. I grew up in country Victoria, a little town called Kyabram. So I remember how many things a farmer has to juggle. If it's not the soil, it's the animals on it. If it's not the animals on it, it's the haystacks. If it's not the hay supplies, it's something else. And now they have to worry about all this jolly nonsense while trying to beat the government off their land, while the government's like, we have to acquire this compulsorily for our jolly green dream as well, because we need to run power lines through this. It's nonsense. And then when you zoom out to the bigger picture of Australia is responsible for a piddly 1.3% of total global emissions, the lengths we're putting ourselves through is clownish.